Police in Canada giving an update on a bizarre case that we first told you about, the death of a 19-year-old Walmart employee. Her body was found in the store's walk-in oven.
Car was found dead in a large walk-in oven belonging to the store's bakery department.
On October 19, a 19-year-old Walmart employee was found dead in the store's walk-in oven. It happened in a branch in Canada. Local police confirmed it, and Walmart quickly claimed it was a horrible accident. But things are starting to look suspicious. Investigators are finding clues that don't quite fit Walmart's story. Now we have evidence that proves this whole accident was foul play. So, what really happened that night? And why is Walmart trying to hide the truth? Foul play. The first and most unsettling theory is that it was an intentional kill. At first glance, it might sound like a wild conspiracy, but this theory actually has some merit to it. First off, the idea of a 19-year-old accidentally getting trapped inside a commercial oven at Walmart is hard to believe. People familiar with similar ovens at other Walmart locations have pointed out that these things are not built to trap someone inside. One worker even shared a video of a walk-in oven at their own store, explaining how the doors don't even close properly. She showed how the door cannot lock itself, even if it is fully closed. There is a latch that needs to be turned to close it from the outside. This means there is no way that girl was trapped by mistake. The door would never have closed behind her by itself. Even if someone accidentally got stuck, they could push their way out. The doors are not equipped with complex locking mechanisms as you have just seen. They are designed for easy access. Anyone familiar with these ovens knows that escape would be straightforward unless, of course, there was a deliberate effort to keep someone trapped inside. That's where the theory of foul play gains traction. Sure, maybe the oven in this specific Walmart had a different design, but that already sounds fishy. The mechanics of the oven itself don't add up. These ovens are not massive industrial furnaces. They are designed for specific tasks, like baking bread on tall, narrow carts. The idea that someone could accidentally get trapped inside one seems unlikely. Let's say you open your oven at home while it is blazing hot at 350 degrees. You would not stick your head inside, let alone your entire body. And if you would not do that at home, why would anyone step into a commercial oven while it is on? It is almost impossible to see this as anything other than foul play. For one, there is never a reason for an employee to be inside the oven when it is turned on. And, as some people have pointed out, these ovens are set up in a way that makes accidental entrapment nearly impossible. They are not massive chambers where you could easily disappear. Instead, they fit just a couple of bread carts, which staff members push in and pull out. The idea of someone getting trapped without being noticed is tough to swallow. You would have to imagine a scenario where an employee is inside, and someone deliberately locks the doors or holds them shut. And let's address another point: visibility. Even if the victim somehow ended up inside the oven, it is hard to believe that no one would have noticed. These are not huge ovens where someone could hide. If a cart full of bread got shoved inside, the person pushing it would immediately see if someone was in the way. They would literally run into the person with the cart. The logistics just don't add up unless there was something or someone involved, like someone forcing the doors shut and making sure the victim could not escape. If Walmart argues that this happened at closing time, there is no way that girl was the only one near the oven at that time, and no other employee crossed that path before heading out. Then there is the whole issue with surveillance footage, or, more accurately, the lack of it. We are talking about a Walmart supercenter here, a place loaded with security cameras. It boggles the mind that there is supposedly no video evidence showing what happened in the area where the victim was working. Isn't that a bit too convenient? If this were a genuine accident, wouldn't there be at least some footage to confirm that narrative? The absence of clear surveillance footage raises more questions, and it makes you wonder if there is something Walmart or someone else does not want people to see. What makes this theory even more chilling is the fact that the Halifax police have openly stated they are treating this as a murder investigation. They say that they are not buying the accident story either. And let's not forget about the victim's boyfriend, who also worked at the same Walmart. It is unclear what role, if any, he played, but his presence makes this case a bit more complex than it already is. Did he know something? Was he involved? Or is he just an unfortunate link in this tragic chain of events? We don't know yet, but it is suspicious for sure. We also cannot ignore the mother's role in all of this. The mom was the first person to discover the victim's body, which automatically puts her high on the list of suspects. It is standard procedure for investigators to consider the person who finds the body as a potential suspect. But even if she is completely innocent, and it seems like she probably is, her involvement adds to the intrigue. Why was she the one to make the discovery? Did she have any suspicions before finding her daughter? Now, this is where things get frustrating from a forensic standpoint. Burned bodies are notoriously difficult to investigate. The intense heat destroys most potential evidence, making it almost impossible to determine if something happened to the victim before the body was placed in the oven. This complicates the case even further, as the very nature of the incident has erased crucial clues. It is a perfect cover-up scenario, and if someone did intend to harm this young employee, they could not have chosen a more efficient way to obscure the evidence. And that's why so many people believe this was not an accident at all. The idea that Walmart, with all its resources, would have an oven that could accidentally roast an employee just does not make sense. These are multi-billion-dollar operations with safety protocols in place. The entire situation screams cover-up, and as more details emerge, it seems increasingly likely that something far more horrible happened. Now the next big question is, what were the motives? Why would someone burn alive that poor girl? Theory 1. Race and discrimination. The biggest potential motive behind this tragic incident could be race and discrimination. We would be naive to pretend that racism and discrimination don't exist, even in a country as multicultural as Canada. And when you add in the element of a young Indian woman working in a Walmart setting, it is not hard to imagine that race could have played a part. Indians, along with many other immigrant communities, do face their fair share of prejudice. From being treated differently at work to experiencing racial slurs and microaggressions, discrimination is sadly still a thing. Sure, Canada is often praised for its diversity, but that does not mean every workplace is free from bias. It is possible the victim might have faced racism or been singled out in some way. And who knows? Maybe that created tension or resentment among her coworkers. It is definitely worth considering. But let's take it a step further, and let's observe something even darker. The possibility of an honor killing. I know it sounds extreme, but it is possible, and we have evidence for that. You see, honor-based violence is a real problem, even in countries like Canada, where it is not as openly discussed. And there is a theory floating around that maybe this was one of those cases. Think about it. She was a young Indian woman, and it has been speculated that she might have been dating a white man. If that's true, it could have caused major issues, especially if her family or someone close to her disapproved. Remember, honor killings are acts of violence committed to preserve or restore a family's honor. In certain communities, especially those holding on to old traditional beliefs, a woman's behavior, like dating outside her race, can be seen as bringing shame to her family. And sometimes, that's all it takes for things to spiral out of control. Now, before you think this is just wild speculation, let's look at some facts. Honor killings have happened in Canada before. Between 1999 and 2009, there were at least a dozen documented cases of killings committed in the name of honor. These cases usually involve a close family member, someone who believes that violence is the only way to protect their family's reputation. One of the most well-known examples was in 2010, when Kamakar Singh Dhillon killed his daughter-in-law because she was planning to leave his son. He claimed her actions would dishonor the family, and he felt justified in taking her life. This brings us back to our case. The victim's cultural background and her relationship status could be relevant, especially if she was involved with someone her family disapproved of. We already know her boyfriend was working at the same store, and let's not forget who discovered her body, her own mother. That's a pretty significant detail. Now, we are not pointing fingers, but we do know that, in investigations, the first person to find the body is always looked at closely. The mother has since been ruled out, but it is still interesting to think about the family dynamics and whether there might have been cultural pressure or family drama that played a role. The frustrating part about honor-based violence is that it is almost always planned in advance. It is not a crime of passion, but something thought out, justified in the perpetrator's mind as a necessary act. If the oven incident really was an honor killing, whoever was responsible might have deliberately set it up to look like a workplace accident. It is a pretty effective way to erase evidence, especially since burned bodies are incredibly hard to examine for forensics. But this is not the only theory people have for this horrible incident. Theory 2: covering up a crime. Another theory is that this whole thing might have been about covering up traces. Now, this theory is intriguing, and it goes like this. 2 years ago, at this exact Walmart location, a loss prevention officer was accused of abusing a customer. It is a serious and disturbing incident, and some people think it is no coincidence that something so horrific happened there again. So the question is, could this young employee's death have been staged to hide something else? Maybe there is a connection to that past case, or perhaps there are still people at this Walmart who have dark secrets they are desperate to keep buried. Think about it. If someone from inside the store was involved in something criminal, eliminating a witness, or someone who knew too much, could be a twisted way of covering their tracks. It is not far-fetched to imagine that powerful people, or even just people with something to lose, would go to extreme lengths to make sure their dirty laundry never sees the light of day. The timing and location are suspicious, and the history of serious allegations at this Walmart makes the situation worse. Now some people even think that this was really just an accident. Theory 3: medical emergency. These people think that there might have been some kind of medical emergency. It is possible that the young employee suffered a sudden health crisis, like a stroke, seizure, or even a heart attack, that left her unable to escape. Unfortunately, we don't have access to a medical report yet, so this is purely speculation. But let's break it down. She was working near the walk-in oven, right? So, it is possible that suddenly something happened and she passed out or became incapacitated. If she had a medical condition like epilepsy or experienced a sudden stroke, she might have collapsed and been unable to get back up. The heavy door of the oven could be difficult to push open, especially for someone who is in distress or has lost consciousness. Even if the oven is not locked and is designed to be opened from the inside, the weight and force required to push the door might have been too much for someone in a weakened or unconscious state. If she had been alone, or if her medical emergency had not been immediately noticed by coworkers, she could have ended up trapped inside. This theory makes sense in that it accounts for a possible accidental entrapment, but it is also worth questioning whether any underlying medical conditions were known to her or her colleagues. Without a medical report, though, we are left guessing. So could a sudden health crisis have been the cause? It is certainly possible, and it would explain how a seemingly impossible situation might have actually happened. But until we have more information about her health, this theory remains a haunting but plausible guess in this tragic mystery. Other than these theories, some even think that this whole incident was just a big prank gone wrong. Theory 4: prank gone wrong. We live in a world where people will do just about anything for views on social media. You know what we are talking about. Those crazy, often dangerous trends where people break into malls or big stores like Walmart, hide out until closing time, and then film themselves spending the night. Many people capture such challenges for TikTok, YouTube, or Instagram, hoping to get a ton of views and likes. These videos are all over the internet. You have probably seen them. People sneaking into stores, hiding behind shelves or in bathrooms until the lights go off, and then filming their so-called adventures. The next morning, they sneak out like nothing happened. It is risky, it is reckless, but yes, it is popular. Now the thing is, some people think that on the night of this tragedy, someone might have been hiding in that Walmart, planning to pull off one of these viral stunts. Maybe it was a group of teenagers or young adults who snuck in, hid until the store closed, and then realized they were in over their heads. The theory goes that perhaps they were filming a video and somehow ended up accidentally locking the employee inside the oven. Or even more horrible, what if she saw them hiding and in a panic to save themselves from getting caught or facing serious charges, they trapped her inside? Think about it. If these pranksters were smart or desperate, they would probably know exactly where the security cameras were and which areas they needed to avoid. They could have used all the best hiding spots in the store, places without any camera coverage, to stay out of sight. It is not hard to imagine them waiting until the coast was clear, sneaking out the next day as the store reopened, and disappearing before anyone even noticed. This kind of theory sounds wild, but it is not entirely impossible. These prank videos show just how far some people will go for a few minutes of internet fame. And if something went wrong, if someone got hurt or accidentally trapped, the fear of getting arrested or charged could have led to some desperate decisions. It all makes sense. You can picture the chaos, the panic, the urge to cover up their mistake rather than face the consequences. You see, situations like this are never straightforward. They are always messy, complex, and layered with possibilities. So yes, it is entirely possible that a prank gone wrong is behind this tragedy. Someone might have thought it was all fun and games until it turned into a nightmare they could not escape from. Now, let's talk about why this does not feel like just an accident, because honestly, the pieces just don't fit together. For one thing, how does someone accidentally end up trapped in a walk-in oven? The logistics don't make sense, and the idea of it being a random accident is hard to swallow. People are pointing fingers at Walmart, claiming that the company knows more than they are letting on. And if that's true, maybe they are hiding surveillance footage or covering up evidence to protect their reputation. Think about it. Even if Walmart didn't directly cause this tragedy, they would still have a strong motive to make it go away quietly. They don't want bad press, they don't want lawsuits, and they certainly don't want people thinking their store is unsafe or haunted by scandal. So what do? They push the accident narrative, hoping everyone buys it and moves on. But come on, there is no way it is that simple. A young employee does not just end up dead in an oven by accident, and we are supposed to believe there is nothing more to it? People are suspicious, and for good reason. If Walmart is hiding tapes or withholding information, it only makes them look guiltier. Even if they are not the ones who caused this, they could be complicit in covering it up. Maybe they are terrified of the PR disaster, or the legal nightmare that would come from admitting something more horrible happened. But the thing is, when you try to sweep something this major under the rug, people notice. And that's why so many are questioning Walmart's involvement. Even if they didn't do it, they definitely don't want anyone digging too deep. So, what do you think? What really happened here? Was it just a horrible accident or a foul play? Tell us your theory in the comments below. If you want to hear more shocking stories like this, make sure to subscribe to our channel. Thanks for watching.